All right, as always, I'm just speculating and expressing my own opinion. One thing I would highlight about the police statements throughout the investigation into the Idaho murders is that this was a targeted attack. So at least one victim we could infer was somehow known to Bryan Kohberger, either in real life or through the internet. So in terms of motives for a targeted, gruesome attack in a person who is otherwise seemingly high functioning, had a master's and was studying criminal justice in graduate school, I would say the safest bet is antisocial personality disorder, but I'm going to start with some more exotic possibilities first. So there's something called delusional disorder. This is in the psychotic disorders section of the DSM-5 with schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and the like. But the thing about delusional disorder is it's defined by a circumscribed delusion, generally just one delusion that is fixed and persistent, but for the most part isn't actually interfering with a person's life, such that they're much more able to be high functioning, broadly speaking, than other people with psychotic disorders. And one of the most common themes in delusional disorder is erotomania. So an erotomanic delusion would be the conviction that someone is secretly in love with you. Despite what other people say is no evidence for that, someone with an erotomanic delusion can find evidence, by reading into completely benign statements that their delusional target, if you will, is making. So this is often what you see with celebrity stalkers, for example, people that the celebrity has actually never met or maybe signed an autograph once, let's say. Somehow this delusion will take hold in a stalker's mind, and then they start thinking that things the celebrity is doing, saying, wearing, whatever in public are messages confirming their love for the stalker. And the stalker will believe that they're both in love. They're maybe in a secret relationship. And this is obviously going to correspond to an obsession, even in real love, there can be very much an obsessional component, at least for a while, right? And then consider that something happens to undermine this delusion. This is catastrophic to the mind of someone with an erotomanic delusional disorder. They'll go into a crisis. They may feel they have nothing to live for. It's undermining their reality that they've built around that delusion. Now, another delusion kind of in that realm is delusional jealousy. Typically, this happens in people that have been in a long-term relationship, but develop an intense conviction based on no evidence, no objective evidence, that their beloved is cheating on them. The old school term for this symptom is Othello syndrome, after the Shakespeare play Othello, about a jealous lover. But so this is a delusion. It's a symptom. It can show up in many things. It actually sometimes happens in Alzheimer's or other dementias. One person in a couple that's been married for many decades maybe will suddenly develop this delusion as part of the neurodegenerative process. I've actually seen that a number of times. But I bring it up here just to say that if you first have an erotomanic delusion and then something happens to trigger a jealous rage, well, that could just be some amount of reality getting through that erotomanic delusion, or it could actually be a delusional interpretation of some other benign statements that you see this person say post online. So in that latter case, that would be an Othello syndrome delusion overlaid on an erotomanic delusion, leading to a jealous rage that would be, like a crime of intense passion, albeit with a completely delusional origin. Of course, I have no real idea if that's what happened here with Bryan Kohberger. I mean, we're all waiting for more information with the trials. I do think the safest bet on my hypothetical differential diagnosis list is antisocial personality disorder. This is the DSM term for what is colloquially called psychopathy, and the idea that psychopaths can certainly be high functioning, superficially charming, but they're defined by being completely devoid of emotions. Now, Bryan Kohberger studying criminal justice, you could say this is one of the potential strategies that someone with an antisocial personality or a psychopath might pursue to, say, learn how to commit crimes, is interested in crimes, but if he's devoid of empathy, that could lead to very dark things, And in general, anyone who's devoid of emotions, if they're also sadistic or otherwise full of hate, particularly for things of goodness, beauty, and the like, they can and will do horrible things, as we often see with serial killers. So if Bryan Kohberger is guilty, I'm very glad law enforcement at least caught him now.